Hello and welcome to another After Plague video. Hi, welcome to my first post-Inktober 2022 video. So I actually have some footage from an old digital painting that I was doing back in September, which I never posted because I was getting started with Inktober. I was attempting to draw a stream starting soon screen for my Twitch, which I am still trying to make, so there will probably be another video about that relatively soon, so keep an eye out for that one. But I decided to do this digital painting of a burning church with a character sort of looking out towards it. It did not turn out how I wanted it to. I'm not very good at painting digitally, and I especially wanted to make this look like a traditional painting with a lot of texture and big brush strokes and not a lot of blending. And I do think from up close, it does actually read like that. It does actually have a lot of texture. It has a lot of brush strokes, but from afar, it suffers from a similar problem that I have with a lot of my digital paintings where they look kind of muddy and blurry and not correct. So I am trying to get better at digital painting. Hopefully you'll see more of my progress as I post more and more on this After Plague channel. At least we've got ourselves a starting point to go from here. So I started sketching out this church. I did look up what a Victorian church specifically looked like because that was the vibe that I wanted to go with. So I have this high steeple and this smaller church building without any flourishes that you would see in traditional Gothic style churches like buttresses or even specific wrought iron components that are in these churches. I have taken a medieval art history class, so I should know more about the different kinds of the church off the top of my head, the different parts of a church off the top of my head, but I don't. Sorry. I have completely forgotten everything that I learned in that class. My bad. But this is definitely a more recent church than a more traditional Gothic church or any church coming before that. I can't remember medieval church, I guess. So I sketched out the entire environment very loosely, and then from most of the digital tutorials that I've seen in terms of painting, this is generally how people do it. They block out the base colors and then use those base colors as a clipping mask to paint on top of without having to worry about, brush strokes going outside the figure. So I did try that, and I think it went better than usual. The one part of this illustration that I am actually really happy with how it turned out was the fire. I really think the redness of the smoke, the different layers of brightness, the swirls that I end up mixing into the smoke really made it look smoky, smoggy, thick to me. And also I really like the different colors of the fire where it's white and bright at the innermost part and it fades out, and I like the red color of the light on the smoke. I really think that looks fantastic. I'm actually extremely happy with how that looks. The character I think is a weak point because of that muddy thing that I was talking about earlier. I feel like my character turned out really muddy. Yeah, and I'm really not sure. I'm not sure how to fix that yet. I am definitely going to keep practicing. I think I might overblend. So I was really trying not to overblend in this illustration, and I think I totally failed. I had this cobblestone path coming out from the church. I'm really not sure how that looks. I feel like maybe it should have been wider if it was a road to the church. But yeah, I was really trying with this environment. I'm not usually somebody that draws a lot of environments. I started out with the character doing like a color key of the lighting and the shadows, and then I made it an overlay layer, I believe, on top of the actual colors, so that way I had a bit of an idea of where the lighting would be, where the shadow would be, and from then on I could blend it and make it a little bit more realistic. I used pretty much the same brush for this entire illustration. At one point I did transfer it from my computer to my iPad just because my back really hurt. I have a lot of back issues and like pain issues when it comes to my back and my hips. So I ended up transferring it to my iPad so I could sit in a more comfortable chair and draw. So you'll see that change at the end with how things are framed as well. I had all of these trees close to the church, and I'm not 100% sure of how they turned out. I feel like maybe the shadow is too saturated. I really enjoy drawing with non-realistic colors. A lot of my illustrations you'll see They're 100% divorced from what you would consider naturalistic colors, but I feel like that does impede me a little bit when I'm trying to draw a more realistic painting, especially if I don't paint off of life. So that might be what some of my next digital painting videos are, is attempting to paint off of still lifes. I'm sure that would help me get a little bit better at determining the color of shadows, because I really do think that's something that makes my illustrations look more like a drawing than a representation of real life, is that I do tend to lean into colors that are a bit unrealistic. I like how they look, and I could see myself pursuing it as a stylistic choice. It's not currently a stylistic choice. I currently draw that way because that's the only way I know how to draw, which I think makes it a weak point in my art. I would love to be able to draw the way I wanted and then maybe come back to this like very exaggerated colors as a style choice. I basically added some like atmospheric fog on these hills in the background, the same sort of color that's coming up from the sky. I made it that color because that's what I saw when I was looking at references of fires, is typically the sky goes a little bit light as well, just because it's reflecting the light. And then obviously I wanted to add in the color from the fire on the ground. These trees, I really wasn't sure how much detail to put into this, because this was another thing I was trying to do, is I was trying to draw this in as few strokes as possible, because I really want to get better at painting faster, and this was before Inktober. So this illustration actually took me something like 6 hours, and I would love to get faster because I cannot maintain that like length of time to draw an illustration. And Inktober really did actually force me to get quicker. Most of the drawings I did for Inktober were between 45 minutes and 2 hours to complete, so that was actually a really big help to me trying to get faster. Again, with this church, I was really tempted to overdo the details. Like in my sketch, I had initially sketched out the wrought iron like window frames and the like details of the brick and that kind of thing. And I decided I really did not want to do that because I really like paintings that are sort of impressionistic, I believe, is the sort of term that I'm looking for, where it's very clearly not a hyper-realistic painting. It's a impressionist photo. Impressionist painting, you can really see the brush strokes, you can really see the like exaggerated color, that kind of thing. And that's the style that I would like to emulate in my painting. So I tried to do that as best I could with these big brush strokes, not blending too much, trying to keep texture in the illustration. Obviously at this point I'm drawing on my iPad. I love Procreate so much. I am still trying to figure out how to film on Photoshop without getting that whole zoom in, zoom out thing. I know there's a way to do it, and I'm definitely going to have to research more into it. Right now I'm sort of just trying to get content out. But yeah, I basically on my iPad I added in this brick texture on the church, just to give it a little bit more texture, give it a little bit more brushstroke, because it was just filled in by the fill bucket tool on Photoshop. I went into the character and I redefined the fabric a little bit, I redefined the hair a little bit, and I strengthened some of the lines around the character so they weren't so soft. And the last thing I sort of do is add in that color from the fire and also some things like bushes and grass along the ground to really fill in the rest of the environment. So there we go, a painting. It's not my favorite painting that I've ever done, but it's a good starting point to show my improvement on this channel from here on out. So follow me on all my social medias. I am AfterPlague on Twitch and Instagram, and I'm after_plague on Twitter. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you survive this post-plague world.